안녕하세요. UNDP의 박혜진 파트너십 및 공보팀장입니다. 넥스트 임팩트 컨퍼런스 세션1 모더레이터와 연사분들께 질문 드리겠습니다. 컬렉티브 임팩트에 대해서 전 세계적으로 오랫동안 논의가 되어왔고 좋은 사례들이 있는 것으로 알고 있습니다. 넥스트 노멀 시대에는 글로벌 관점에서 그리고 학제별 관점에서 컬렉티브 임팩트를 강화하기 위해 우리는 어떤 도전을 마주하게 될 것인지, 이를 어떻게 극복하면 좋을지, 이것을 계기로 어떤 새로운 기회를 만들어낼 수 있을지 궁금합니다.
Welcome to the Session 1 Transformation of Collective Impact for the Next Normal. Eric and Sangmok, thanks for your keynote address today. In this session, we would like to discuss further regarding the current status of the collective impact and challenges ahead. We have 4 guest speakers, Eric, online, and Sangmok, Sangmi, and Sangman. Can you introduce yourselves? First, Sangmok.
To introduce myself in the keynote address, I'm the president of Korea National Council on Social Welfare. I'm an economist by training, but I'm working in the social welfare field at the present time.
And Sangmi.
Hi, I'm Professor Sangmi Jo from Ewha Women's University, Social Economy and Social Welfare, and also Dean of Global School of Continuing Education at Ewha. Very nice to meet you.
Sangman.
Hi, my name is Sangman Han. I'm working at the business school, Sungkyunkwan University, and I'm serving as the president of Korean Marketing Association, and also I'm the president-elect of Korean Management Association. It's very nice to meet you.
We have Eric online. Can you say hello to our guests?
My name is Eric Nee. I am the editor-in-chief of Stanford Social Innovation Review, a media organization at Stanford University. We produce a quarterly magazine, podcast, webinars. We reach more than 2 million people around the world every year, and we do that through our English language edition. But as you know, we also have a Korean partner in Korea at Hanyang University, who produces a Korean language version. And as you saw at the beginning of the conference, we have partners in Japan, China, Mexico, and also an Arabic language edition.
Thank you, Eric. And my name is Soo-hyun Bae. I'm a director of Yellow Dog and Impact Investing Venture Capital. I'm really honored to be here as a moderator. So as Eric and Sangmok already pointed out through the previous keynotes, collective impact initiatives were introduced through SSIR 10 years ago as a solution to the complex social issues. The session will have 3 more presentations to discuss further on collective impact. So I will give my presentation first regarding the collective impact in impact investing. I would like to start with the definition of impact investing. By GIIN, Global Impact Investing Network, impact investing is defined as investments made with the intention to generate positive, measurable social and environmental impacts alongside the financial return. So as an impact investing organization, Yellow Dog also defines impact investing by investing in the new opportunities derived by solving social issues. So we actually find opportunities within the startup communities and then try to address those social issues by investing. So Yellow Dog was founded in 2016 and we have made first investments in April 2017. We invest in around 50 million USD in 26 companies, and our asset under management is around 100 million USD. So we want to find and evaluate investable opportunities with a social lens, and we try to find really interesting investable opportunities with the companies with social missions. Let me elaborate more on our target impact domain. So where do we invest? We actually focus on the 17 social SDGs, UN Sustainable Development Goals. We have 4 priority areas. So one is wellness and healthcare. Second is environmental solutions. And third is quality education. And 4 is work style solutions for the next to normal era. And we also have gender lens investing to our all the investments and portfolio companies. So we also conduct impact due diligence while do our investments. So we have 3 lenses when we make investments. First of all, we want to find the mission-aligned companies that want to try to solve the social or environmental issues. And secondly, we want to look at the co-linearity of the business model. So we invest in the companies with the business impact with the social impact. So we want to find the scalable companies with their own business model, making their own social impact. And then lastly, we want to make a positive pressure by the governance of the company. We either having a board seat of the company or just having a lead the entire round to be a very impactful the investor for the company. After we conduct the impact due diligence, we define our theory of change, what we want to deliver through these investments, and then make a measurement system based on our desired outcome. So these are the companies in our portfolios. So we want to find companies that solve critical social and environmental issues. So Enuma is one of our portfolio companies that solves the education problem. It increases accessibility to all the developing countries' children to have literacy and numeracy skills by software. And another company is Ziguin Company. They produce plant-based protein, and also it solves the environmental problems of our conventional way of having a meat, like a beef. So now we have more complex problems to be solved. The climate issues Eric mentioned before is the one of the issues. So I want to highlight more about how impact investing ecosystem actually solve the social issues by based on the collective impact principles. So from the individual impact, it actually in the isolation, we cannot actually solve very complex problem with the individual impacts. So we really need to move to the collective impact with collaborations, collaborative actions. So as Eric highlighted before, there are 5 conditions of collective impact. So I would like to describe how impact investing ecosystem moves with this kind of 5 conditions. So these are the basic the structure of the impact investing ecosystem. So as a yellow dog, we manage the funds, and then we have a number of LPs who actually funds our yellow dogs funds, and we have startups. So based on this structure, I would like to elaborate more on the collective impact. The first one is the common agenda. We're sharing a common agenda that solves social and environmental issues by scalable business. So that's our common goal. And second is a shared measurement. Yellow Dog provides an impact valuation system for each of its investments. One of our corporate LP has a research organization, and then we co-developed the valuation methodology. In that way, we actually set up the shared measurement system within the entire ecosystem. Third is the mutually reinforcing activities. So some of our LPs help our portfolio companies' business development. Some actually help sales lead. And one of the affiliates of MPO, of corporate LPs, they provide catalytic capital or patient capital grants to our startups so that they can start their new business with impact. And other policy-led funds, they also provide policy support for these startups. And fourth is continuous communication. Within this ecosystem, Yellow Dog provides regular updates on demand reports as well as impact reports. So we have a very transparent information sharing system within this ecosystem. And the last one is backbone support. As a backbone organization, we orchestrate all these activities as a GP. So we drive our efforts toward the common goal set before as a fund manager. So this is the brief introduction of the Yellow Dog and collective impact within the impact investing ecosystem. So now I move to the academic side. Sang-mi will introduce Sang-mi is the founder of Ewha Women's University's interdisciplinary program of social economy. So Sang-mi will introduce her program based on the collective impact.
Hello, I'm Professor Sang-mi Jo, and I'm very happy and honored to introduce this interdisciplinary program of social economy. As a founder of interdisciplinary program of social economy, I will share this program because this is one of a representative of collective impact within the university. As you know, within collective impact on organization is sometimes more difficult than inter-organization collaboration. And since this is welfare mixed period, one sector and one department cannot solve complex social problems. That's why we initiated this interdisciplinary program. This is multidisciplinary program which consists of 15 departments based on community and social value and social innovation. And there are 24 faculty members. We address various social issues with diverse perspectives from social welfare, economics, sociology, business, architecture, and environment, etc. And we invigorate a field-based internship program which contributes to community through social economy. Here is our vision. Our vision is social solidarity through inclusion and diversity, and our value is social value and economic value and sustainable technology. We think social economy is one of alternatives to solve social problems through community building and diverse economic activities. So we want to educate innovative leaders for future society, and they need to have social solidarity, empathic engagement, and scientific prudence. So we have multidisciplinary program. We've done community-based participatory research activity, field-based curriculum, and global social innovation. We want to solve diverse inequality issues such as opportunities and employment, income and finance, and environment and medical inequality. This is our history. We've been preparing this program for 2 years, and I've been thinking of this program for 4 years. It was established in 2017. Can you see 2017? And we got scholarship from FK for 3 years, so we got MOU from Ministry of Labor and Employment and SK and our university. You can see the picture there. And we got some funding from university headquarters of a future promising department. And also in 2019, we got some social economy leaders program from funding from Ministry of Labor and Education. And now we published IHWA Social Impact Review, which is collective impact of all 30 students and faculty members and field experts. And those are our history. Well, this is our curriculum. As you can see, there are 15 departments, and we only made 3 new courses, and we all connected classes of our all department, 15 departments. So this is really the collective impacted curriculum and innovative activity in our university. As you can see, our curriculum consists of core curriculum and issues, specified issue curriculum, and to solve inequality issues, and implement courses, method courses, and we facilitate through social innovation lab and global social economic network. So up to now, we set up the administration process, conducting and supporting researches, and extending networks of communities. Among them, I would like to emphasize our dedicated people. As you can see, we have yearly increased the faculty members, and then there are a lot of students with philanthropic experience and specialty. So they are also, many of them are CEO of social enterprise and community enterprise and cooperatives. And those are the brief overview of our interdisciplinary program of social economy. And students can go to private sector and non-profit sector and social economy and public sector. And this is our network, and also our students can go to this diverse sector. Well, today, Eric and Sangmok inspired me to think about how we can make this interdisciplinary program. I think about 5 conditions of collective success. And this is number 1, this is our common agenda. Because university is education institution, we have a common agenda to cultivate students, to cultivate global integrated creative experts to solve social problems. So we have this common agenda, we can make this program. And second, shared measurement system. Still, we have a lot of room to consider and develop, but we already have, every university has it, but course evaluation system, students' graduate evaluation system, and university performance evaluation system. So our program is also integrated into this system. And some of our faculty members with me conducted research of effectiveness social enterprise education continuously. So we have shared measurement system. And I would like to emphasize mutually reinforcing activities. This is really hard, and we really try to do that. For example, IHWA Social Impact Review, I already mentioned 30 people publishing this book, and make 5 teams, and 30 students and faculty members and field experts. We make together and make this team. And we have a lot of field studies and social economy leaders program. So we try to keep the mutually reinforcing activities. And this is community participatory project through the research and activity. And this is a startup academia contest. And then number 4 is continuous communication. This is really important and difficult part for the continuous communication. So we conducted social impact forum for 2 years, and then the next February we also do social impact forum. Through this social impact forum, we try to connect through the people, the public, and then all the experts in this field, and students and faculty within the university. And within our interdisciplinary program, we continue to faculty students meeting to share their communication. And number 5 is university as a backbone support organization. This is the Ewha Women's University ecosystem for the innovative education. So through the education, we have education center and also extracurricular activities. And we have research based on community, and we have social entrepreneurship center. So through this backbone and ecosystem, we can make this interdisciplinary program. Okay, this is some case of collective impact of Korean organization, non-profit and profit, and government. And our faculty member established Rainbow Geo. This is University and Social Enterprise Collective Impact. They want to solve the climate change and natural disaster problem, and they make early warning system used for whomever and whatever. So this is one of the case for the university and social enterprise collaboration. And second is Autista program. One of our faculty members also established Autista. This is University of Social Enterprise Collective Impact. Problem is social exclusion of individuals with autism special disorders. So the solution is operate Autista Design School, and Autista is a social enterprise. And we assist young people with ASD obtaining designer positions. And this is collective impact case of university and social enterprise. Okay, and Bear Beta is also social enterprise and private sector and government partnership. Okay, I don't have enough time, so I will just show this case in PowerPoint. Then I will give my mic to the Professor Sangman Han from their business perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Sangmi, for the presentation. As Eric pointed out earlier, collective impact requires cross-sector collaboration with strong backbone organization. More business sector players are participating in this momentum, being backbone organization for collective impact. Sangman is a business professor of Sangkyunkwan University, will elaborate further on these efforts. Please welcome Sangman for his presentation regarding the business sector's movement into the collective impact.
Thank you, Suyun, for introduction. I want to talk about collective impact, some issues from business perspective. First of all, before we go into the business perspective issues, let's take a look at these are the things the issues that I want to discuss. There are 4 issues. First, before we go into the issues, I want to take a look at the GRI report, which stands for Global Reporting Guideline, GRI. In the business sector, many companies, most of the companies, especially the big companies, are reporting sustainability status every year. And it's called Sustainability Report. And the guideline is called GRI. It is composed of economic sector, environmental sector, and social sector. And let's take a look at the number of companies participating in reporting GRI. As you can see, Korea is falling behind to Japan and China. Of course, much lower than Europe. So Europe is, far ahead in terms of sustainability report, and Korea is very low in terms of participating companies. Let's think about why this is the case. And also, if you look at, I didn't actually write down the name, but there's a yellow line, which stands for United States. And compared to the number of companies in the United States, actually the participating companies in the United States is very, very low. So that shows that not most companies are participating in sustainability report. So today, the theme is collective impact. So I'd like to think about the issues from the perspective of these 5 key conditions for collective impact. As the moderator Hyunmi explained, these 5 conditions, I do not want to repeat it, but I want to focus on the first 3 conditions: common agenda, shared measurement, mutually reinforcing activities. Let's first go into the first issue of common agenda. What I want to point out is if you look at the left-hand side and right-hand side, left-hand side is more of a conflicting perspective. It is a zero-sum game, so to speak, zero-sum game. So if you want to increase the social value, you have to decrease the economic value. Otherwise, if you want to increase the economic value, then the social value will be decreased. So this is a perspective maximizing economic value versus maximizing social value. But if you look at the right-hand side, it is more of collective view, where you want to maximize economic value plus social value. How you can achieve that? If you just look at social value and economic value as an independent value, it's very, very, difficult to increase the combined value, which I called total value. So the only way is to create shared value. Actually, Professor Kramer wrote about creating shared value with Professor Michael Porter in 2015, after he wrote this collective impact, the famous collective impact paper. So how we can change the perspective from the left-hand side to the right-hand side is really important issue, I think, not only for the business, but also for every side, every sector of the society, including social welfare too. The second issue is the second condition, shared measurement. If you look at this left-hand side graph, this is how the companies choose which social issue they focus on. So it's based on the 2 criteria. First criteria is on the y-axis, where it measures how important this social issue is for the stakeholders. The second criteria is the x-axis, which actually measures how important this social issue is for the company or for the organization. So the priority section, which is marked in the rectangular, that's actually both important, both for the stakeholders and for the company or the organizations. To actually measure the importance of the social issue for the stakeholder is easier. You can do survey, you can ask the stakeholders which one is more important. It's not as easy as we can think, but this doable job. But to actually find out what is the impact of this social issue from the perspective of the company or from the perspective of the organization is really difficult to measure. Not only it is difficult to measure, but also it is difficult to actually assign different weights between economic and environmental and social issues. Therefore, there is a very, very difficult issues in terms of shared measurement. The third issue I want to focus is that the companies are always trying to survive in the environment. They are trying to maximize their competitiveness. Competitiveness is based on their value chain. If they are competitive in their value chain, they are a very strong company and they can win in the business war. But by maximizing their value chain, there is no way you can achieve this collective impact. Therefore, to achieve this collective impact, we have to change the perspective from the value chain perspective to the value ecosystem perspective. In the value ecosystem perspective, it is not only composed of company's value chain, but also composed of business partners, customers. These important players are all mapped into one ecosystem. So company has to strengthen their competitiveness of the value ecosystem, which is really important agenda, and it's important from the collective impact conditions. Let's talk about some cases about collective impact in business. I think there are three ways you can combine traditional values with social values. First, in the case of Patagonia, social value actually governs the traditional value. In other words, when they create traditional values such as functional value, psychological value, economic value, they have to follow the guidelines of the social value. So if you look at this advertisement from the Patagonia, they say, don't buy this jacket. Why? Because they want the customers to reduce, wasting the environmental materials. Basically they made common thread initiative, which is the Patagonia's social value initiative. It's composed of the 4R, reduce, repair, reuse, recycle, plus Patagonia actually add one more, reimagine. And reimagine is really important for Patagonia because they say, let's take away from the nature where only those that nature can replace. So let's not use nature more than what nature can replace. That's their philosophy, and that's their basic idea about the business. But if you look at other cases, such as Nike or IBM, their approach is adding social value to the traditional value. So in addition to the traditional value they also want to create social value, such as if you look at Nike, they add new shoe line called Nike Considered, which always think about environmental friendly materials, environmental friendly method of manufacturing, things like that. And these are some of the shoes that they made under the Nike Considered brand. But not all the Nike shoes are Nike Considered. And the third approach is combining traditional value and the social value. And the example will be ABB, L'Oreal, Nestle. I want to show you the L'Oreal's case where they have a strategic supplier, and this strategic supplier means the players in their supply chain. They want to strengthen the competitiveness of their supplier chain players and helping them, giving them tools for the training, giving them tools for self-assessment, and help them to up to their level of L'Oreal. I want to go to Korean case, and I want to actually show you the case of SK. SK now is on the way of creating social value account. Social value account. So every company in SK Group has to create social value account for each customer, and they actually reported to the CEO, Mr. Choi. And Mr. Choi belief is that if you actually create social, not only just the economic value, but also for the social value, then you have to actually change the business model and change the way you do the business. So, for example, SK Chemicals, what they did was to combine the social value and financial value, economic value. They worked together with a big client, Amore Pacific, to create and invest. They invest in R&D to create chemical recycle process and solutions. And also based on that, they created recyclable PET plastics. And they want to, in phase 2, phase 3, they want to expand it to, in Korea, they want to expand it to global players. Lastly, I want to briefly talk about Business Roundtable. In last year, on August 19th, in the States, 191 companies get together and declared the purpose of the company. The purpose of the company is not just to make profits, but to create value for the stakeholders. This is their declaration. So based on this business roundtable, we formed a Korean business roundtable forum. And what we're trying to do is next year, we want to declare same Korea business roundtable, where we want to declare that these 5 common goals that the companies try to achieve. It's not just the profit for the shareholders, it's for the customer success, it's for the creating shared value, it's for the economy of mutuality, it's for the competitiveness of human resource, and it's for the long-term value, not the short-term value of the company. Yeah, this is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sangman, for the presentation. It is really interesting to see all the cases from public sector and academia and business sector. I want to give my mic to Eric. Eric, can you describe more interesting cases from the global perspective with all the 5 principles with the collective impact?
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. Just a quick reminder, I know we've heard it quite a bit, but the 5 conditions are having a common agenda and common set of goals, to have a system of shared measurement, have a set of mutually reinforcing activities, continuous communication, and a backbone organization. So the one example that I wanted to talk a little bit about is one of the oldest and most successful examples. It's an organization that's called Strive Together. In fact, it was featured in the original Collective Impact article, but it still exists today. And in fact, that effort began in 2006, so predated the article. And it started in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is in the center of the United States, a metropolitan area that has about 2 million people. And it began when about 300 leaders of local organizations, which is an amazing number, from schools, businesses like Procter & Gamble, which is headquartered there, government, nonprofits, universities, all came together because they were concerned about the educational system in the Cincinnati area, and they wanted to improve outcomes for children. And they realized that to do that, they had to focus on everything from kindergarten all the way through high school and college. And the term that they eventually came to use to describe their work was cradle to career. And the purpose, again, was not to create necessarily new programs, but it was to bring together everybody who was working on this issue or had a stake in the outcome of the educational system to talk about the problem, to agree on what was going to be their common agenda and set of goals, what were going to be their reinforcing activities, and how are they going to measure their progress. Now, understand, they were doing this before the collective impact term was coined by John and Mark. And in the first 4 years after coming together, they made improvement. They had 53 key performance indicators. So you talk about measurement, they had 53, which is quite a bit. But we're talking about a whole educational system. And they did make improvements on 34 of 53. So you might look and go like, whoa, that's maybe not as good as, what about the others? In fact, to make improvements on that many was really important. So 4th grade reading scores improved, high school graduation rates improved, for example. So when Mark and John were doing the research that led up to their article, one of the organizations that they looked at was Strive, and it helped them to come up with this model, because that was how Strive was doing their work. And there were a number of other organizations around and collaboratives around the United States that were operating similarly and having really tremendous results. Well, Strive became Strive Together, and it still exists. It's actually now a standalone, what's called a 501c3 nonprofit. It has an annual operating budget of a little over $8 million. It gets most of that money from foundations like the Gates Foundation, the Ford Foundation, the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, which is Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg's philanthropic work, and a lot of other major funders. And they still operate in Cincinnati. But the problem, fixing education is not going to happen in 2 years or 5 years. It's a long-term effort. So it's still operating there. But importantly, they've expanded, Strive Together has, to work with more than 70 different collective impact networks throughout the United States. So each of these networks has their own name that's applicable to their own community, but they're all part of this larger organization, Strive Together, that helps coordinate their work. All of these networks, these 70 different networks around the country, work on education. They learn from one another. Education in the U.S., there's no national education policy. There's not even state education policies. It's very much, education in the U.S. is very decentralized. So that's why you have to have all these different networks working that are each unique to their community, but are cooperating with one another across the country. Again, we're talking about businesses, public school systems, nonprofits. So together, these 70 different networks are helping to serve 14 million children in rural areas and large cities, such as Chicago, New York, Seattle, Boston, Dallas. The average backbone organization of each of these 70 different networks has a staff of 10 people. It's been operating on average for about 8 years. Each one of them has an annual budget of $1.5 million. And like I said, they all work on similar issues, improving readiness for kindergarten, improving middle school math scores, improving high school graduation. So I wanted to mention that because it's an interesting example of how something that started very local, relatively small, grew to become this nationwide effort all around improving education. And it has, Strive Together is in fact a super backbone organization, if you want to think of that. It helps coordinate the work of these 70 networks that are all independent of one another, that are working on their own local problem in their particular city. So it's not as if every collective impact initiative that gets started is going to end up like that. One might hope, but that's not realistic that it's always going to happen. But I wanted to use that as an example because I think it illustrates a number of important principles that others can learn from.
Thank you, Eric, for the cases. Education is a really tough area to actually reform, and then coordinate the impact of the 70 different networks for the 14 million children would be truly amazing. We really hope the efforts of Strive will succeed in the future. So let's just move on to the Korean side. Actually, Sang-Mook introduced the Korean cases and public efforts associated with collective impact. You mentioned COVID response of South Korea, and then it has been a great demonstration of a collaboration for a collective impact on public-private partnership, and then all different CSR activities and other corporations and other civic sectors all together. But Eric also mentioned mere public-private partnership is not a collective impact. So what do you think of what made the South Korea's public-private partnership of COVID-19 as a collective impact? What are the strengths and weaknesses of South Korean efforts? And then what needs to be done? What needs to be improved further?
The 5 sectors played a very important role in managing COVID-19 in Korea. The central government set up the national health insurance in 1978. So more than sort of 40 years passed since then, and it's sort of well established. Coverage is reasonably good, and costs are reasonably low. And we have a redistribution of income from high income class to the low income, because insurance premiums are determined on the level of income and wealth. And there's a redistribution income from the healthy to the sick, And also we had this long-term care insurance established in 2008. And this is sort of an addition to the national health insurance. So insurance premiums are collected at the same time. So certain percentage addition to the national health insurance premiums. And that covers many people. So that's because of this two systems, COVID-19, the testing and treatment were made free of charge to the individual. So it was all funded from those two insurance. Okay. Then secondly, the performance by the medical community. We have some of the top talents in Korea. They go to medical schools and nursing schools, and they are very qualified professionally. And at the time of the COVID-19, they also showed their dedication, and that was the second factor. And third factor is IT and BT industry. We have IT technologies is almost at the top in the world scene, and I think that helped a great deal in tracing all these people and preventing the further spread of the COVID-19. And also we had sort of compared to the IT industry, the BT industries, as we knew, but they also did very good. They produced the testing kit right after the break of this COVID-19, and they're exporting these things to all of the world. And many of the Korean the pharmaceutical companies, and they are working very hard developing vaccines and the medicines to cure COVID-19. So the fact that we have a very strong IT and BT industry base really helped as a great deal in the process. And the fourth element is dedication of the Korean government, the official civil servants in the central government level and the local government level. And we had this government-led economic management for many years from the days of the President Park Chung-hee, and they're working very hard. They are relatively very efficient, and I think that they played their parts in the process. And last point is the general public. It was so amazing. This everybody sort of cooperated in the social distancing. I see in the news that in the U.S. and some European countries there's a protest against the government social distancing policies, but absolutely there's nothing of that sort in Korea. And also I heard in some of the developed countries there was a hoarding of the essential products like tissues, but in Korea there was absolutely no instance of hoarding. So I was very surprised. This is 5 important things, sectors, policies, and general public, and it all worked, you know. So it's almost perfect. I would give us a 95 point grade. So, but my only wish is we can do good in other areas, you know. But in the case of managing COVID-19, we showed the sort of the perfect the model case. Yeah.
From the collective impact perspective, backbone support and backbone organization is really important. So among those 5 sectors, which organization actually act like a backbone organization in the COVID-19 situation?
It has to be government, central government, prime ministers and minister of the health and welfare. But I would give there's something like 85 point, you know, grade. But I think the general public and the industries, I mean, central government, those top policymaker did okay, but the general public and private sectors and medical the personnel did even better. So it's but the central. The coordination was done by the central government, Prime Minister and the Ministry of the Health and Welfare.
So actually, shared measurement system, the very clear like targets for the COVID-19 has been a really good KPIs for all the participants within the ecosystem, right?
Yeah, you know, I get something like at least 10 messages in my cell phone showing that. There's some outbreak, the new patient in my neighborhood, and a lot of warnings what I should do. You know, I think all the Koreans get that kind of messages. Yes. So
that's a part of continuous like communication.
Right. So
within the ecosystem.
So we have sort of everybody has cell phones, and you know they this sort of a digital communication system is very well developed. And I think that's played also important.
That's right. So for the collective impact, shared measurement and measurement system is very important. So let's move on to the business sector. So how does business sector players define the measurement system for the collective impact? It's really hard to measure. Financial value, it can be translated into profits, and then we can see the numbers. But how we can measure the collective impact and shared value and social value from the business sector? Sangman, can you elaborate more on that sector?
Which is the largest capital investment company, right? He said he'll decrease the investment in the companies which has a sustainability risk. So basically what they do is they actually measuring the sustainability of each company. And the measurement is based on ESG, stands for environment, social, and governance. And these are the sustainability measurement, mostly well-known in the world and in business sector. The problem with this is that as himself, as the Larry Fink, the CEO of the BlackRock, said in the same letter, in the annual letter to the CEOs of the listed companies, he also mentioned in that letter that the purpose of the company. In his letter, he said the purpose of the company is not just to create profits. He said the purpose of the company is to create value for the stakeholders. So there's some gap between his mentioning of he will reduce the investment in the companies which has a sustainability risk, which is measured by ESG, which is well-known method. And, many companies in the world, including Korea, are using this method. But this measurement only captures the risk, the social risk, the environmental risk, social risk, and governance risk. So in order to fulfill the latter part of Larry Fink's the message to the CEO, he said the purpose of the company is to create value for the stakeholders. And if he only measures the risk part of the sustainability, which is short of what he wants to achieve. So what we need is to combining these financial returns with the social value. You can be able to transform the social value into financial numbers. If you can, change this social value into financial numbers, then you can compare and you can sum them up and make it to total value, right? That's the agenda that we have to tackle right now. And the first step to go to that direction is to combining social value, first ESG, because that's the necessary part, and then more collective impact like social, environmental, or as I mentioned, ecosystem activity, the ecosystem competitiveness activities. They should combine that into financial report first, and then somehow they have to convert that into financial numbers. Then that I think that will the purpose of the company can be achieved. Yeah. Thank you.
Angman, for your comments. So actually, it is a homework to the academia research groups to how to develop the social value measurement system. So Sangmi, can you give us some examples from the academias that make some efforts to how to translate and convert social value to the visible numbers or other measurement system? What would be the role of the academia in the next normal era, and what kind of support can academia can give to the business sector, public sector, or all the other sectors?
Yes, specifically for measurement system, we also need to collective impact between the departments. So right now we are trying to conduct making that measurement system, the business professor and me and other economic professor together. So we can see the diverse value, and some part we can see the number, but some part we cannot see the number. So we need to combine this. So for the measurement system, university, because we are researchers, we can need to develop more diverse and multidimensional evaluation system. From the social welfare perspective, of course, we need to make economic number, but also we need to measure how we can contribute to community and how we can contribute how the people's well-being and people's quality of life, the change, and then that's the measurement. Then we will evaluate. We will make the evaluation system. And for the academia generally, the common academia should take social responsibility also to contribute society and our community. All the university, like Ewha University, should have their vision. For example, Ewha University was established in 1886 with only one woman students. At that time, there was no women education. So we think we make progress for women's education and diversify our society. This is also the social innovation and solving problem issues. And every university have their own vision to contribute society diverse value. And for the education, university is also an education institution. So we need to connect community and people through the education and research. So and university-wide and department-wide. And for example, our university is collaborating to other universities, School of Engineering, to make social impact project to define social problems in the community, and then make change plan with diversifying issues, because engineering part and social welfare field economy, they see problems differently, and we can do collective impact for the problem solving method.
Thank you for all the insights today. We want to wrap up this session. We want to hear final remarks from all the panelists. Eric, can you say final words for the session?
Sure. Well, first, let me thank you for inviting me to participate all the way from California. I've never been in a panel where I'm calling in and everyone else is on stage. It's kind of interesting. I'll just say, there's a lot we don't know about the future, but there's one thing that I am certain of, and that is that collective impact and working together is going to be vitally important to tackle any of the problems that we're going to be encountering in the future. And we do know what some of those are. We know that climate change is one. We know that income inequality is another. Gender inequality. And again, I think, collective impact is one of the very good and proven models of how to do that. And it will look different. And just listening to this conversation, I can already hear some of the ways that I think the model might be a little different in Korea than what it has been in the U.S. But I do think it's more relevant now than ever.
Eric, Sang-mok, do you have final remark?
This is the second time I attend this conference, and I find it very useful. And from next year on, I hope we can sort of extend our coverage. Eric mentioned at the beginning the importance of community, and I hope we can tackle that issue sometime in the future. And also I mentioned in my presentation how to strengthen existing social safety net is a very, very important issue. And as a president of Korean National Council on Social Welfare, we are working on this subject. And next week, I will become the president of International Council on Social Welfare, and I'd like to expand discussion of this subject to the international level. And thank you very much. It was a very good conference. I learned a great deal.
Thank you. And Sang-mi?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is my first time to participate in this conference. I learned a lot, especially the 5 conditions. And I want to add some more conditions for the collective impact, actual implementation. There should be a dedicated people and leadership is needed. And the social capital, the trust is really needed to collaborate and to make collective impact. Because if we cannot trust each other, we cannot and also the social mission and never-ending patience is also needed. And from the social welfare perspective, we already know that collective impact is really important to solve social problems. But the challenge is how we can incorporate into the delivery system. And personally, I think the method of collective impact is also need to diversify, because there are still the vulnerable people we need to provide services at no cost. They are still struggling with that. So we need to make delivery system for them separately, but still, and then we need to make collective impact different ways. So we need to diversify for the people's quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, Sang-man?
Yes, I think collective impact is really important in this corona pandemic era because there are basically 2 phenomena. First one is there's huge divide between, in terms of income, not only in terms of income between big companies and small companies, and it will be greater and greater. And also there's another phenomenon is digital transformation. We are actually living in 2025 currently in terms of digital transformation, in digital economy, digital education, everything. So the divide will become larger and larger. So we need a collective impact on this. And I think in this collective impact is needed from all sides of the society, including the business, government, and other parts of the society, all together, work together to solve this divide between the income class, divide between the large and small companies, divide between well-equipped, competent people and less competent people. So this is the time that we need actually focus on collective impact.
Thank you for all the great comments. So we have heard the cases from the education and public sector, academia sector, and business sector. So for collective impact, we need to satisfy all 5 principles, but we also need to adjust a little bit for the better impact creation. So I will really looking forward to the next session, and then we will continue on the discussion going forward. Thank you all for today.